Well, yeah. And I wouldn't get in the car with her, because I told her, I said, no, I'm fine. I will be fine. So this is in September of 2016. Well, I do remember when I woke up, I asked them where this girl's truck was. And so, I did find out that. And it was just insane because they were thinking it was all a plot and that, they were too afraid to go get to the girl's truck, and it sat there for a week. And, bless her heart, it ended up costing her a lot of money because I sure didn't have any. But, that's just the insanity of it, Yeah. They were thinking it was a conspiracy theory, and it was sad. That's just the sadness of this, what it ends up being. And so, like I said, I rocked on, and I was pretty much from that point on until the end of the year by myself. And it was, I had wood for my fire, for my wood stove. That's about all I had. And y'all, I had two of the sweetest neighbors, I remember at Thanksgiving, they brought me food over there because they kind of, we never talked about it, but like I would go over there and borrow their phones because, Kathy, I would reach, if I was just to a low point in my life, I would go over there and I would call Kathy, and, Kathy had come by several times and tried to get me to go to church with her, to go to recovery with her, to come on with it, would pray with me, to check on me, and so this rocked on, and so I went through I did, like I said, my neighbor brought me food on Thanksgiving. They were so good to check on me, and I don't know what I would have done without them, and so, and when I would have a little bit of money, she would drive me to Walmart, they were, the Lord does place people in your life just to remind you that there are good people out there. And, like I said, I would borrow their phone. Well, so it rocks on, and so I'm all alone, pretty much through November and then Christmas. And I remember that one of my sisters came by and knocked on my door the day after Christmas, and I wouldn't, she saw me in there, but I wouldn't open the door, because they were worried about me. And so, but, like I said, I shut myself off from my family because I didn't know how to face them. And so, anyway, somehow or another, like I said, I made it on through the first of the year. And actually, the last time that I smoked was on December the 26th of 2016. And so, on January the 3rd, on New Year's Day, my neighbors I don't know, I was just really feeling, I was so low. And so I walked over there and I knocked on the door and I asked Miss Charlotte, and I said, can I sit with you? And I knew that, I knew it was New Year's Day because I did have a calendar in my house and I marked it every day. But I said, can I just sit here with you? I just need somebody to talk to. And I don't want to be alone right now. And so she said, yeah, come on in. I'm sorry, y'all. And so anyway, so she, it was just, I hadn't seen a TV. It was so weird to sit there and watch TV. She had the New Year's Day's parades and stuff going on, and it was so wild to sit there and to see a TV because, I had been so isolated, but, it was my fault. It was just weird being around something normal because I hadn't had normal in a long time. And it was so, and that's another thing, I just remember thinking all these times, this is not normal. This is not normal. How have I let myself get like this? How has my life come to this? And so, anyway, so January the 3rd of 2017, I had been there, like I said, by myself pretty much. Just me and my dogs, and I don't know, I was just feeling another way. And so I walked over there and I asked Mr. Donnie, I said, can I please borrow your phone? And I called Kathy. And somehow or another, I had heard that her father had had a heart attack during the Christmas holidays. And I wanted to check on her, and plus I just needed to hear her voice. I really did. And so it happened to be on a Tuesday, and like at that time it wasn't registering me anything, I just knew I needed to talk to her. And she answered the phone, and I stood there and talked to her for the longest, and she said, oh my gosh, she said, Sandy, I am coming to get you tonight. It's Tuesday. Don't think you're going to call me, don't think about calling me back. I'm going to show up. And I said, and this was in the morning, probably about 11ish, I guess is what time it was. And I said, oh Lord, please just don't be late. I was like, oh, I'll be ready, and y'all listen. Rainwater was my best friend, I got over there with what little bit of rainwater I had, and I smelled like wood smoke, but it was okay, and so I was so thankful when she pulled up. I was waiting outside. I didn't care what time it was. I just waited outside on her. I'd been watching for her, and she pulled up to get me. And I didn't know what to expect because, y'all, like I said, I was skin and bones. I was sick. I was starving. I was starving mentally, physically. I mean, I just was starving. I was starving for food. I was starving for company. I was starving just to be around people. And so when we walked up there that night, it was pretty full, and I didn't know what to expect. And so the first person I walked into when we walked up the stairs was Amy, and she gave me a big old hug. And then it just went from there, and everybody was loving on me, and it was so crazy. And so, she said, well, we'll eat first, and then we'll go in and worship. And I just, and it's so crazy because that night, that message that Brother Jeff preached on was out of John 15, and it was about the true vine. And I'll never forget that he was, I just remember where it talks about, when we get apart from him, and how how he will, cut off anything that's not producing fruit. And y'all, I wasn't a fruit producer at that time at all, and I hadn't been in so long, and I had felt so distant from him. But y'all, I can tell you, through everything, I watched God protect me. Y'all, I should be dead. There are situations that I got myself into that I don't even know how it happened, but I was there, that I should not have lived through any of it, y'all. And I am here by his grace and mercy. And so I just remember, and it was talking about, apart from me, you can do nothing. And y'all, you can't do anything without him, because, he never meant for us to be here on this earth without a right relationship with him, and that's all he wants from us, is to be in a relationship with him. And so, it just, every time I hear anything about John 15, it just recounts that night for me, and I just remember coming, just going to the altar and praying, and just that burden that was lifted off of me, y'all. And so, that night, and then we went into the round table, and I was like, there were so many people in there that night, and I was like, oh, and Kathy was like, you can just pass. But y'all, when it came around to me and it was time to, for my time, and I'll put him out there because he knows it, but there was a guy named Tim Armstrong that spoke that night, and he was just talking about, like, what he said, and it made sense to me. And so I shared, I talked a little bit, and it was just like that God was just peeling stuff off of me left and right, and just showing me that there are people that have been through the same thing that you've been through. And that, what, no matter what, that he loved me, and that everything was going to be okay. Well, that night I guess it was that night at the altar, I just knew, y'all, that I had to, I didn't want to live like that no more, because, listen, I didn't think, and then, as time went on, it's kind of crazy because, I heard people talking about that, they didn't know if they had another one in them. Well, y'all, I can tell you right now, what it did to me mentally, I knew if I went back to that spot that I would not make it back out again. And I knew that I couldn't do that, I couldn't make it back out. And so that night, after it was all said and done, and I was like, okay, when are we doing this again? I said, Kathy, when are you, and listen, it got, and thankfully, y'all, I'm so thankful that at that time we had meetings 5 days a week. Because without that, y'all, I wouldn't have made it, because I needed that. I needed somebody to be with me, because, y'all, I'm going to tell you what, when you're alone, silence is deafening, and the wheels in your head will go round and around, and Satan will wear you out, And so, listen, I know this is crazy, but, like, I couldn't wait, like, I would go back home, and even though I still had no electricity or water, I could go in there, y'all. I got the joy in my, he put some joy back in my heart, and he gave me a light at the end of a tunnel, I guess, so to speak. But I would go in there, and I would have my little lamp, and it's a little headlamp. That's the only time I ever wore a headlamp, but, it was $1 one from Walmart, because Kathy was like, what do you need? I said, I need something to be able to read my Bible. And I did, and I couldn't wait, and it was like, the Lord was just showing me new stuff every night. It was like a whole new world for me of digging in there and it was all making sense to me again, finally, And so I'm just so thankful that, God put Kathy back in my life at that time, because if I hadn't had her, and if she hadn't worked that, people can say what they want, but those steps work. I love those steps. I love the biblical principles that go along with it. And Kathy was my 12-step partner, in this, because she went out and she shared that message of hope, and she kept telling me, Sandy, there is hope. and it just happens to be that's my middle name. So, anyways, I'll stand on that. But it's just I'm gonna, like in Deuteronomy 30, and it talks about, He's given us a choice between life and death, prosperity and disasters, between blessings and curses, loving the Lord and obeying Him, committing yourself firmly to Him, nothing before Him. You can't put anything before Him, because listen, an idol is not a wooden thing. An idol is anything that you put ahead of God. Yes. And that could be, it can be drugs. It can be the things of the world. And so, I had to learn. And listen, I'm one of these, when I got, I kept thinking, if I just had this much money, or once I get my money, or if I can just do this, if I can just get this paid off, I'm going to be happy. Let me tell you something. That's not where happiness is fleeting. I want what God gives me, and that's joy and peace and love. And listen, I didn't know what love was. I love my family. I love my son. But you know what? Until I really came to understand how much the Lord loved me and what His love meant, it's a whole different thing when you get God's love inside of you. And then there was another thing I wanted to talk about. In Matthew 12, 43 through 45, this is what I had to kind of stand on, and this is what has kept me clean and sober, because let me tell you something, like I told you, what it did to me mentally, I know I couldn't handle it again, and I just took these verses, it talks about when the evil spirit leaves, and it talks about, once you get your house in order, when God rescues you and takes all that darkness off of you and the demons out of you, because it is demonic, y'all. It is. It's a demon attaches itself to you, and you're letting the devil have his way in you. Well, when He cleans you up, if you don't fill yourself with Jesus, that's what happens is you let, He'll... I just remember that verse talking about where 7 more, He comes back with 7 more, and then you're 7 times worse. Well, let me tell you something, there's no way I could have handled that, I just knew that there's no way, because listen, it about killed me the first go around, and so I just knew that I had to fill myself with Jesus. And listen, I'm not perfect, my life is not perfect, but you know what, I have a family that loves me, I have friends that love me, I have a safe place to stay now, and the Lord, I'll never forget, I thought I was going to go back to work. And I got to get to this, I guess, too. I thought I was going to go back to work for the doctor I worked for a long time. And I was so happy about it, and I was thinking, man, that's going to be a great job. It'll be great money. I'll have insurance, all this. Well, when I went for my background check, I was a year and a half clean. I was almost a year clean. And they were like, you've got warrants for your arrest. And I was like, what? I said, no. Well, guess what? The night that I went to the hospital, or the day I went to the hospital, I knew there was stuff under the seat, and it was mine. But nothing was ever said when I left the hospital. Well, my address on my driver's license still said Prattsville, but I was living in Malvern, and so I had 2 felony warrants. And so, man, I was devastated because, first off, I was thinking, oh, my gosh, I can't go back to work for Him. But, y'all, let me tell you something. The Lord knew what, sometimes what we want and what we need, if we will just wait on the Lord, because, y'all, let me tell you something. I didn't get to go back to work for Him, but you know what? He ended up he had some family things come up, and he had to move back to North Arkansas. And you know what? I'm so thankful that He trusted me enough that He was going to put His faith in me to come back to work for Him. I do appreciate that. But the Lord knew what I needed, and so I ended up getting all that. I had to go turn myself in, and I am a 2-time felon. I got 5 years probation, but I've already completed everything I was supposed to. So I was way clean when I went in there. I was too clean for drug court, they said, and so I ended up going ahead and accepting the 5-year probation. But you know what? The Lord has used that, and I got to witness to people every time I've gone in to check in at that probation office. The Lord will use you if you allow Him to. Well, so I went to work at Subway, and I loved it. And it also, but listen, I got to go to meetings every day of the week still. See, and the Lord knew what I needed still, because if I had gone to work at that other job, I would have had to back off my recovery. And so He knew exactly what I needed. And then... it came around to where there was this lady that I had gone to church with that needed me, and I needed her. And so, I mean, the Lord put me with somebody who taught me what the joy of the Lord was. And that was her strength, you know, and that's our strength. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And she made me understand that, y'all. And I got to be with her for a year and a half. And it was amazing. And so, and I'm just so thankful for the time. And, you know, and her family has become like my second family. And that was my safe place to stay. You know, the Lord he knew what I needed, even though what I wanted and needed were two different things. He always knows what we need. We just have to follow his lead, you know, because sometimes, you know, I have gotten ahead of him, or I've done stuff that I shouldn't have, you know. I mean, like I said, I'm not perfect, but it's just if you really go back and pay attention, you know, he always knows what we need. And so I'm very thankful for that, you know, and in this time, you know, I got to deal a lot with Shalom, and so the Lord now is going to allow me, like, I get to start on January the 1st. I get to start working 2 weekends out of the month, working with the Shalom women over there. And listen, those people over there have a dear spot in my heart because, you know, we worked with them a lot. And it has, you know, that has helped me so much being able to see what the Lord does from week to week to week. And, you know, with the pandemic going on, it's kind of been a little bit, I've not got to see him as much. But then the Lord, he's always, you know, he's always faithful. He's going to give me that opportunity, you know, because it's going to work out to where I can do what I do during the week and then go over there 2 weekends out of the month, you know. And so, you know, I'm just so thankful for that because, you know, that's what keeps me going. It keeps me sane. It's one of the best feelings in the world to be able to you know, to minister to somebody and to watch them get it. Because you know what, even though all this bad stuff happened in my life that I allowed, you know, that I brought on myself, he uses every bit of that, you know. And, you know, my family has asked me several times, do you regret not getting the help you know, when we offered it? And I have to tell them, you know, no, I don't enjoy everything that bad happened to me, you know, and I'm lucky to be alive. But if it hadn't happened the way it did, I would have probably still been one of those because all those years, you know, I'd be a weekend warrior, and I didn't think that I was doing anything wrong. But when he let me see the ugliness of the true, how dark it really, really was, and how, you know, it was either going to be all in or all out, you know, that it had to happen that way because now I know there cannot ever be any fence riding because Satan owns the fence, you know. And I have to be in this world, but not of it, you know, and that's what I preach, you know, to people all the time. You know, listen, you cannot be a fence rider. If you give him an inch, he's gonna knock you off that fence. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again, you know. And so I just have to really, you know, I've had to really distance myself, like what I watch, what I listen to, you know, the people I'm around. But, you know, that's just how it's had to be for me. I've had to let go of a lot of things, but you know what? He knows what's best for me. And so every day you know, I just try my best every day to serve him because I don't want to ever grieve him again because, you know, I wasted a lot of years. But anyways, that's kind of my story. And so I thank y'all for letting me share it.
Man, Sandy, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I've watched a lot of people come and go in recovery. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone jump in head first like Sandy and stick with it like she has. And she's gone out and helped. I watched her help so many people that have no hope left. And so I'm tickled to come alongside you and, man, just serve God with you and what he brought us from. Man, that's amazing. So if this is you, in this holiday season, it's a hard time for a lot of people. I can remember I wanted every holiday to be different from the last holiday, and it seemed like it only got worse every year. I felt like I let my family down. I felt like there was no hope. So if that's you struggling, or if that's someone you know that is struggling, please share this video. Reach out to one of us. On Facebook through Messenger, or our numbers are posted on this Salt Life Recovery, reach out to us, because something's shifting right now anyway in the atmosphere, I feel like, because when you were sharing your testimony, I could see some more people that are in my life right now who are at that crossroad where they can either choose life or choose death, and they're choosing life. And so I just want to remind you that there is hope, and thank you, Sandy, for coming. And also, we have our meetings here at Salt Life Recovery every Wednesday at 12. And look, we had a great meeting today. It's really great. They're confidential, and just let us come alongside you and help you. And thank y'all for joining us.
Yes, and if you happen to watch these videos and say it's the middle of the night, 7 days a week, and you need to talk to someone, call one of those numbers on there. We will, and keep calling. If we oversleep or don't hear it, keep calling, because we want to talk to you and walk
Yeah.
you through this. The Lord loves you, and so do we.
Yes, amen.